It is moving to tears to see everyone out there praying. This is a very unusual experience for Cantor and Paul and I, Bruce up here. And there is holiness in this moment. How many of you have felt lost in your life? Have you ever felt lost? I remember the first time I ever felt lost, and I mean really lost. I was 19 years old and embarking on a one-year study in Israel at the Hebrew University in Jerusalem. I arrived alone at the Old Lod airport on an El Al flight at 4 in the morning, completely jet-lagged and with no idea how to get to my final destination. I grabbed the Shirut, a shared cab, and told the driver to bring me to the university. The driver asked me which university I meant. I had no idea. I could only tell him it was in Jerusalem. The cab driver dropped me off in the middle of the Mount Scopus campus at a bus stop, depositing my two huge, and I mean huge, 50-pound plus bags on the sidewalk next to me. The campus was empty and immense. I felt so tiny and so very, very tired. There was an office door nearby which I tentatively knocked on. The door was unlocked. Inside, I explained in broken Hebrew who I was and where I was trying to go. "You are on the wrong campus," I was told, and instructed to take the bus across town to Givat Ram, the secondary campus of the university. Somehow I managed to follow their directions, sitting on top of my duffel bags on the 45-minute bus ride. I arrived almost in tears, completely unsure of what I would do next, cursing myself for how ill-prepared I had been for my trip, but knowing I had literally no one to call for help. It was still barely 10 a.m., and with 7-hour difference between us and the U.S., it was still 2 a.m. back at home. I lugged my huge bags down to the nearest building and there collapsed. I had all but given up. Opening my eyes, I found myself staring at the face of my best friend from high school, getting ready for our intensive Hebrew class that morning. I had arrived. And so began one of the most important years of my young adult life. Sometimes you have to get lost to truly find where you're going. And more importantly, to find out who will be going with you. The Torah describes a moment like this in the book of Genesis, where Jacob, running scared from his brother Esau, after having just stolen his birthright and blessing, is forced to encamp on a mountainside with only rocks to use as a pillow. He is scared and alone, unsure of whether he will even survive the night. From out of that bleakness, a ladder appears, carrying angels up and down from the heavens back down to earth. And God's voice resounds, promising our patriarch he will soon find safety. Upon waking in Genesis 28, verse 16, Jacob says the following: "Surely God is in this place, and I knew it not. Hakein yesh Adonai b'makom hazeh v'anochi lo yadati." We arrive at the start of this year, 5781, in a similar state, unsure of where we are headed. The world is in disarray. Our lives have been upended by disease we cannot even see nor truly understand. We long for connection and comfort, hoping to open our eyes, and suddenly the world pre-COVID will be restored. Yes, my friends, we are lost, and hopefully by coming together we will find what we are seeking. How perfect that we are here at the Transit Drive-In, a place where for decades the faces of our heroes and heroines have illuminated the darkness and offered a brief respite from our hectic lives. When the idea was first offered at the beginning of the pandemic, it seemed so strange. A drive-in was very far from the standard image of our high holy days. And yet, the more we mulled it over, explored our options, the more perfect it became. And thanks to the generosity of Rick Cohen and his little dog Gigi, who is the third-generation proprietor of this Buffalo institution, this is exactly where we are. Movies have often served as the places where holiness is most tangible, where the ineffable is expressed, and where the unimaginable comes to life. This is where Humphrey Bogart greeted Ingmar Bergman with the famous line, "Here's looking at you, kid." Where Julie Andrews danced around Salzburg singing The Sound of Music. Where Roy Hobbs broke the clock tower at Wrigley Field in The Natural. Where the Death Star was destroyed. Where E.T. phoned home. Where Harry Potter finally defeated Voldemort. And in more recent memory, where the Avengers finally collected the Tesseract. And if you don't know that reference, ask the nearest young person. In each and every one of these cases, the story revolved around someone seeking, and only through their search, by occasionally losing their way, did they find what they were looking for. One particular heroine comes to mind as the very embodiment of Teshuvah, our return home on this most auspicious day. A young girl whose house has just been swept away in a storm, and who, with only dog in hand, must find her way back to her family in Kansas. I don't know if it's little Gigi that reminded me of that, but I have to think about Toto there. This is, of course, none other than Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz. We in Jewish Buffalo have a special fondness for the movie version of the tale because it features the music of Harold Arlen, the son of a local cantor who took his talents in a different direction. The scene that comes to mind is from the end of the movie, where our young heroine has already overcome many obstacles in her path. There is only one thing left on her plate: to actually go home. Things look bleak as the wizard has been revealed to be a phony. How will she ever accomplish her seemingly impossible task? It is at this moment that we see Glinda in her poofy pink dress, waving her magic wand, asking Dorothy if she's ready. "You don't have to stay here any longer," the good witch tells her. "You've always had the power to go home." Then Glinda instructs the young girl to tap her ruby red slippers 3 times, saying, "There is no place like home. There is no place like home. There is no place like home." And suddenly she is there. We too have always had the power to go back home. We only have had to be ready to use it. By home, I do not mean our physical home, our congregation, your actual home, but something much more, a spiritual home. The place where we feel most connected to those we love, where even the Wicked Witch of the West has no power. When we come together as a minyan, a quorum of 10 or more, whether virtually or in person, we make a statement to one another that we are not alone in the world, and only with the permission of the group are certain prayers possible. Among those is the Jewish version of Glinda's incantation, the Kedusha, or the holiness prayer from the Tefillah that we just said. It too has us clicking our heels together 3 times, just as Dorothy does in the movie. And I love how I saw Robin doing it down there. Rising higher with each click, ascending like the angels in the book of Ezekiel. For our purposes, we need not have ruby red slippers. We need only one another, a minyan of fellow seekers. As I recite the words of the Kedusha, I encourage you to lift up with each word, and like in The Wizard of Oz, we seek a little bit of magic to enter into our lives. So I'm going to lift up. We put our feet together wherever you are. You don't need to stand. And we say the holiest words, Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh. Holy, holy, holy. Being lost is never fun, no matter how young or old you are. Like I felt so many years ago on my arrival in Israel, it can be truly terrifying. Some of us have that feeling right now with doctors and politicians at a loss how to proceed, perhaps putting our economic and physical lives in grave risk. To the many members of our academic community, students and teachers and administrators, we know how very disorienting this time has been. We know how hard you've worked. To the many who have suffered through COVID or have had friends or family suffered or even die from it, we extend our arms around you. To the many seniors and isolated members of our community cut off from friends and family, we are here for you. I also hope you know that myself and Cantor, Joanne, Bruce, Paul, our entire Shir Shalom community are here for you. Like Dorothy, we are trapped over the rainbow with little idea how to return home. But just as I found out nearly 3 decades ago, by finding the faces of one another, we will find our bearings. In doing so, we will find God. Even Dorothy could not do it alone, but needed the Tin Man, Lion, and the Scarecrow to help her out. That is the true reason of our gathering on Rosh Hashanah. By clicking our heels together, we signal to one another we are here at our Yellowbrook Road, and that Kedusha, holiness, exists even here, but most especially here at the Transit Drive-In. May holiness abound and surround us in 5781, wherever we happen to be. Hashanah Tova Mituka, a joyous, sweet new year to us all. Hashanah Tova.